Hi everyone. In my last video, I discussed about few tips and tricks for online interviews. I have seen there are comments like how we can easily crack any interviews. So in this video, I'll discuss on that topic. So interviews are like art, and you need to be prepared for an interview. So even if you are a very good resource, if you are not prepared for the interview for a few direct question like 60 or 70% direct question, you won't be able to answer the question properly, and it may be possible that interviewer, this is very short span of interview, right? So within 30 minutes or 45 minutes you need to give some precise answer. So for that, definitely you need to be prepared. So the preparation can be like, you need to go through, you can go through all the interview questions, you can prepare for it. There is one more approach that I will going to follow here. So the sheet that is currently opened is a interviewer feedback sheet. So in that sheet, normally we used to give feedback based on certain conditions, certain criterias. So I'll just going through the sheet so that you can understand what all points a interviewer want from a candidate. Now this sheet will be for a .NET full stack profile. So I'll be going through it since I am from .NET background, but I have UI testing, Salesforce, Java, and Mainframe sheet as well. So if you need that, do comment in the video description. I'll give the link. So let's begin. So from this is a sample sheet, and you can see the Infosys. This is a role for technical lead in Infosys, and his overall experience is 10 years. So anything between 2 to 10 years, you can expect this question. For 2 to 5 years, the question would be little bit easier, and for more than 5 years it will be slightly difficult, and you may expect some follow-up question. And from 10 years onward, you need to prepare for the architect level interview, so this won't fit for more than 10 years, but it is okay for 9, 10, till that would be fine. So as you can see, this is like candidate interview sheet, and he got excellent. So thus this is a generic feedback form, but this is different on company to company, but these are almost same. See, he got 4 out of 5, so which is excellent, and the higher is outstanding, so 5 and 5, so 4 means selected. So basically you need to score minimum 3 in order to pass. If you score 4 on 4 or 5, that would be great. Okay, now this is the interviewer name, this is candidate name. Purposefully I have uh, removed those, and overall rating you can see 4, and the verdict is selected. So force means selected. So overall feedback the interviewer given. So the candidate is for healthcare domain. So while you are giving interview, you need to taking interview, you need to mention that which domain you are working on. Maybe it's healthcare, it's maybe aviation, or maybe BFSI, maybe media, so that you need to define. And then his last project is custom document management system, CSDMS, and the technology he worked on is ASP.NET, ASP.NET MVC, C Sharp, ADO.NET, SQL Server, Bitbucket. So point to be noted, you need to, in the CV or somewhere during the interview, you need to mention this technology along with the version control that you are using. Since TFS is outdated now, you need to either use Git, and is surrounding cloud repository like Bitbucket, or maybe GitHub, or maybe GitLab. So the next part is, if you can see, he is an individual contributor, 100% development profile. So the interviewer will try to understand how much you actually developing. So possibly like you are going for a development profile and you are just developing 50%, rest 50% you are using for support work, or you are doing client communication, you are working as a scrum master. So in that area you need to clearly define. So if you are developer, it is expected at least 70 to 80% contribution for development side as well. Okay, so this 100% develop Dave is basically saying he is an individual contributor, uh, working maybe single-handedly in a project with 100% contribution towards development. Now, scenario analysis, they are using agile methodology that he have mentioned. So, agile consists grooming, planning, designing, develop, daily stand-up call. They are going for a 2 week sprint. They are using Jira. So everything they have either mentioned in the during the interview, the candidate, or they have verbally communicated this information to the interviewer, and interviewer is also capturing those information. So make sure you at least if you have worked on in agile and Jira, make sure you tell them. This is one of the expectation. Now if we go through candidate skill, now here is a catch. So in ASP.NET MVC in Web API, what are the points that he has been evaluated is they should have proper candidate should have proper knowledge in model view controller architecture. So if you are preparing for an MVC interview, make sure you know what is model, what is view, what is controller, how to pass the data between those, how can you capture data. So all sort of like architecture, how it is differ from MBPM framework or MVA model view any. So you need to having this architectural difference, and what is the difference between architecture framework and architecture style, so that you need to understand. Then he is good in the data annotation. So in MVC, how you can validate server side validation, client side validation using data annotation, and also minification, HTML helper class. So you need to basically go through all this terminology and you need to understand. And then he has a clear idea regarding state management. So how we use session, temp data, view bag, and view data, what are the different uh, pros and cons of using those, you need to understand. Then the next point that the interviewer will check is candidate is having clear understanding in routing. So this routing and this session management is very much important for any of the technology, be it Angular, be it SP, be it any of the technology. You may ask question from either server management or routing or both. So he understand conventional routing. He also understand attribute routing, and he also knows HTTP verbs like get, post, put, patch, and delete. So the question will come from what is the difference between post and put, how it differs from patch. Normally get won't ask and delete people will not ask, but put and post definitely the difference will be asked, and you need to clearly tell which is idempotent and which is not, and why we use put and why you use patch or post. The next is filter. So filter is a very common question here. Action, result, authorization, exception filter, and you need to know the interface name along with the method that we normally override. So that method you need to on action executed, on action executing, all those method and their life cycle you need to know. So the next question is he has clear understanding of view, razor view, HTML helper class, and others. So here, like these days, we have Blazor as well. So clearly, you need to mention which technology you have used, because Razor and Blazor are completely different altogether. And like if you even worked on Blazor, it is very good because this is a new technology. But Razor still people will ask question. Now the next would be he is good clear in REST API and action, iAction method, interfaces, and he is having clear idea on normal controllers. So here you may expect like why we normally return action result, or uh, like you know uh, like content negotiator and all, you need to prepare for this. Also one normal question is asked uh, regarding method overloading here, how you can handle method overloading in controller level. So you need to use action name method. So this is the question. Now it is from C sharp. Now basic knowledge of C sharp and oops concept. So you will be asked for four major pillar of oops, that is abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. Maybe one of them you need to uh, explain. So be prepared with the proper example. Now you need to understand between what is value type and object type. So while value type and object type, it may ask for follow-up question with what is boxing and what is unboxing, what is the difference between structure and class. So that, or where, like what is the difference between heap and stack memory. So these will be asked. And the interface abstract, so difference between interface and abstract, and people will ask, definitely ask, what is the scenario when you should use abstract class, when you should use interface, and the virtual keyword, why we use virtual keyword. So virtual keyword is used for method overriding, but there is one more use of virtual keyword that people may ask, like an interviewer may ask, that is for like if you you need to implement lazy loading in entity framework, you need to make the all the properties virtual. So that thing interviewer may expect from you. Then candidate is clear about C sharp memory management using garbage collection, dispose, I disposable, interface finalize, and heap and stack. So here also, like one method using block we normally use, and you need to understand what is managed code and what is unmanaged code, and how basically generation 0, generation 1, generation 2 garbage collector works. The next question is like, and the next point is task. These days trading, normally people won't ask because we already have a task library that is given in .NET 4.0. Threading was given possibly in .NET 2.0 framework. So threading, mutex, lock, people may not ask, but they can ask about TPL, task parallel library, and you need to be very clear how you can invoke task, what is task factory, how you can cancel a task regarding cancellation token, and all the properties are available method task.run. So you need to understand basically the task class. Along with that, you need to understand what is the difference between, clear understanding the difference between async and keyword. Now if you are senior, you may, like if you are senior resource, it is expected to answer some of the difficult question from task. So that difficult question includes how you can pass a cancellation token. So that there are few, like things in task, so you need to be prepared for the task. The next question is, candidate should have a good knowledge on default, static, and parameterize and private constructor. So you need to basically understand this constructor, and in which case you cannot create an object of a class if you use some of the constructor. So that is one point. Then having clear knowledge of generic and non-generic, and the collection like list, array, and hash table, and also also dictionary and stack queue. Nobody will ask, but lambda expression will be asked. So if you need to iterate a dictionary, how you can iterate, you need to tell the key value pair, you need to see the syntax basically. Now clear understanding of delegates. So delegate, you need to tell them, like the question will be what is the, like use case of a delegate, and there are three types of delegate that are readily available, and what are those: func, action, and predicates, and which in, like scenario we should use func and then action. So that you need to clearly tell. So func is basically, it's I mean action is basically, it doesn't have any output, where func is having output, and predicate will always return a bool. And next is solid principle. So this question is asked, like people having more than 3 to 4 years of experience. Solid principle will be asked. Solid acronym, you need to understand all, like a single responsibility principle till D, and you need to explain maybe one of them with proper example, and you may need to write some dependency injection code. So just prepare with the code also. The next question that will be asked is, candidates should have the clear idea of private, public, protected, and internal. So this access modifier, and suppose if we don't declare uh, like access modifier for a class, what will be the default behavior of the class? So it will be internal, and all the members will be private. So that question can be asked. Then what is the difference between read only and static and constant? So this is very important question that interviewer can ask, and he will capture the response. And the last question, like what is the difference between seal, static, partial, and abstract class? So this is a clear you need to answer this question properly. So that's all about C sharp. Now you can see what the interviewer is written. Like he is having sound knowledge on ASP.NET, MVC, C Sharp, Web API, Edu.NET along with MS SQL Server, and good and not acceptable, which are meet the job requirement effectively and accurately. So overall, the response is good. I'll go through the next one. Now this is specific to MVC and Web API that we already have discussed, and C Sharp we have already discussed. And then the last one is edu.net. So I think SQL Server is not present, uh, but you'll definitely ask question from SQL Server. And if you are giving Angular or React in your CV, then you need to prepare for Angular and React, or you are writing Azure or in data certification in AWS, you may expect the question from them as well. So in edu.net, you have given three, which is pretty okay. Uh, edu.net or entity framework, or both of them can be asked. So edu.net he mentioned. So in edu.net, what are the question? As relational data model and schema, how good he is to write. This is basically edu.net along with SQL Server. Store procedure, view, function, cursor, trigger. In store procedure, they can ask temp table, global table, temporary variable, and along with city. And then this is some function exists in delete, truncate, difference between delete and truncate, union and union all. These these are common question. Anybody can expect. Now, what is the difference between primary key and unique key? And then clustered and non-clustered index and composite key as well. Then you need to have a clear concept between inner join, left join, right join, and cross join. Also the self join. And then you need to have a good idea in edu.net along with entity framework. And also candidate should be able to write link queries. So why link queries is you possibly need to remember left join and inner join, and you need to possibly remember few of the normal lambda expression using order by, then by, the types of filter criteria you need to able to write. And you need to also clearly understand between connected and disconnected architecture. So data set, data reader, data adapter, data table, and connection objects. So that's all. So if you can see, he got selected, and these are the areas basically the interviewer touched during interview. So the just opposite of the same, instead of going through all the question, if you can prepare these topics by watching video or by watching books, like seeing books or reading any article, that will also help to pass. Now if you are from UI or testing or salesforce or java or mainframe background, just comment me in the video description. I'll provide the this 5-page feedback form, so you can prepare the topic accordingly. Thank you.